Welcome, everyone, to this live radio variety show flowing forth from the cosmic radio receptors of KCRW, LP 100.7 FM, located in lovely coastal Brookings, Oregon. My name is Dr. Gigi, and you are tuned into this week's edition of Doc and
Jacques. Hello, Doc.
My co-host is Jacques Kepner. How are you, Jacques?
I am doing fine. Great, Dr. Gigi. I'm feeling really good here on this day, which is the 6th day of March, 2024.
With
it's a
sunshine.
Sunny day after all this rain and trees blowing over. I understand that Brookings has been hit particularly hard.
Yeah.
A lot of damage to the roads and to the trees that adorn people's homes. So hope everybody's cleaning up. We got a few days of respite of rain, and we're back into the rain show, I think, this weekend. You're tuned into this radio show, which is a variety radio show of sorts, where every Wednesday between 4 and 5, you can expect an informative, fun hour of live, on-the-air acrobatics.
Darn tootin', all right. We will start each week's show with a medley of fascinating statistics and facts blended in with some medical info that can possibly, hopefully, affect our health.
You know, your German heritage doctor is kind of funny sometimes, the way you say darn tootin'.
Darn tootin'.
I mean, nobody says darn tootin' anymore.
That's what I was taught when I came to the States.
Okay, well, all right, you're excused. After the doctor dispenses her medical wisdom, we will introduce this week's fascinating guests for a creatively composed, colorfully cosmopolitan, consequentially cordial, charming conversation with these two coastal community celebrities.
Yeah. We will save the last segment of our weekly show for some good humor, please laugh, clean jokes, and contemplative wise quotes. Oh, and I want to do a shout out to my cousin boo, Belle Fontenot in Lake Charles,
Belle,
Louisiana.
Hey, Belle, and welcome everybody else that's listening. I want to know Jaden and Victoria and Big Dave and Sherry and Chris and
the other guy
and Marshall, Missouri, and all sorts of other people. Thank you for all. Oh, and Janice, can't forget about Janice.
Oh yeah, for sure.
We'll say the last week. Oh, you already just said that, right? Okay.
Yes, and so it's all starting right now on the Doc and Jacques show.
Okay, that's my cue to kick off this week's topic of MDGG, or medical dialogue, according to my dear co-host, physician, patent holder.
No, I cut that out.
Professor, you cut all that out of my script. Who's done a lot of accomplished things, Dr. Gigi. What do you got for us this week?
All right, today we're going to talk about the liver.
Hey, that was made famous by the Monkees for that song.
How?
I'm a believer, if you try.
Yeah, very funny. No, but it's the liver. The liver, we start with the anatomy. It's located just on the right upper quadrant of the abdomen, which is right under the right ribs, and under the lungs. We learned about the lungs last time.
Yeah, we learned about the lungs. So so it's underneath. It's not protected by the ribs.
It's not protected by the ribs. Correct.
Wow. Okay.
Its weight is about 1.5 kilos, 3 pounds or so.
That's a doctor from Germany speaking about kilos. Isn't it one of the heaviest?
Yes, it is the heaviest internal organ.
Wow, the liver is
besides your brain, of course.
Well, wait a minute. How big is the brain? It's bigger than the brain, right? It's heavier.
It's a little heavier than the brain.
My brain is 1/4 of my weight.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying.
So huge.
Beside you.
Okay.
Now, this is the cool thing about one of the cool things about the liver. It's the only organ that I know of, I might be wrong, where the blood gets transported into the liver by two sources, by two origins.
Well, obviously the heart is one.
The heart is one. That's the hepatic artery. Arteries go from the heart to the organ.
Hepatic meaning?
Hepatic meaning liver related.
Okay, and renal is kidney. We learned that.
Yeah.
So it's hepatic. Okay.
Pulmonary
I'm sorry
lungs.
to interrupt you.
So it comes from the heart, which means it's oxygenated. So it's full with oxygen. And then it also gets blood from the portal vein, which is interesting because the vein usually goes to the heart, except for now it goes to the liver and then to the heart. So that's interesting. Why does it go to the liver? Why does a portal vein go to the liver? Because it gets all the nutrients from the gut and all the toxins, but it's deoxygenated because it was used by the gut lining.
It's super important, right?
Yeah, and now it goes into the liver, and then the liver can do its fantastic job.
I'm thinking about replacing my heart with another liver.
Why?
That way I could drink more and care less. Okay, that was a pretty good one. All right.
Yeah, fantastic. Liver function, number one, or I have a number. It doesn't have to be number one. It detoxifies noxious substances
In the blood.
in the blood that are found in the blood. So, and it does that really only either by adding oxygen to it or putting a little sugar residue on it. So once you change whatever you're doing, it changes the chemistry. So it changes the chemistry in that it might not be poisonous anymore. Or medication sometimes gets activated by putting that oxygen on there or the sugar residue. So very cool. So
It is interesting.
Yeah.
Diabetes controlled by
No, but
liver?
the liver does regulate some of the glucose of the sugar levels in our blood. So it can actually make sugar de novo, neogenesis. It makes sugar out of scratch.
Sounds like doctor words. Neogenesis. Okay.
It also creates bile for the digestion.
Oh, that's stomach stuff.
That is close to, well, it's in our abdomen. Stomach makes acid.
Oh, that's right.
HCl.
What do the actual
Hydrochloric
cells actually make? Then they get gobbled up by the acid that they created, right?
No, yes, though they make the acid, and if we wouldn't have that mucus film around the cells, they would digest themselves. But they have
Bile is different, though.
Bile is different.
Yeah.
Bile is sent to the liver and goes into the gallbladder. Bile is part of the gall,
Oh,
and it is then given to the gallbladder, which then can shoot it out into the digestive system when we eat fatty foods, because fat is not water soluble, as we all
it
know.
breaks down the fat globules.
Yeah, it makes it water soluble. It kind of engulfs it, so it's water soluble.
Unless you're a vegan. I only eat animals that were vegan.
Okay, any fat. Well, yeah, I guess you're right. Okay, vegan, yeah, no fat. Okay, you're good. You don't need that. It synthesizes cholesterol. So we all get our cholesterol measured, and we're all stressing out high cholesterol, low cholesterol. Oh, I eat a lot of fat, and I still have low cholesterol. A lot of it is actually a genetic input. So the cholesterol is made mainly by our liver.
Doesn't liver control the anger? That it used to be thought the Romans and Greeks were anger centers.
Yeah, so in German we have a little saying if somebody's angry saying, oh, a louse has run over your liver.
A louse has run over your liver. That means that somebody's very negative, okay?
The liver stores a lot of nutrients, key nutrients they call it, vitamin A, vitamin D, E, K, vitamin B12, iron, and copper.
Wow.
All in there. So some of the diseases that we're not talking about are actually having to do with that storage function.
Okay.
And it makes albumin.
Oh, that's the stuff I have in my ears, right? Your ears? Oh, that's the stuff, the wax in your ears.
Cerumen. It sounds a little bit similar.
Yeah, okay.
Albumin is
Sorry.
a protein which is put into the blood system, in the blood, and it keeps the water component of the blood interested in staying in the blood vessels. So I always explain it as you have a little sugar cube. Albumin is not sugar, but that's an example. You have a sugar cube and you put a little drop of water next to it. What happened?
The sugar sucks up the water or dissolves the sugar.
Yeah, the sugar sucks up the sugar. Yeah, and so that's what the albumin does. So with the water component of the blood, it keeps it interested in being in the blood vessels, because the blood vessels are not waterproof.
Huh.
So otherwise we would be leaking out, which we see for people who have liver damage and don't make albumin. They have water everywhere. Okay, a couple of surprising facts. The liver can regenerate itself. A lot of people know that. If you cut off up to 70% of a healthy liver, it can regenerate. If you cut off a cirrhosed liver,
Cirrhosis.
Yeah, who has scar tissue, cirrhosis.
That's what cirrhosis means?
Yep,
Scar tissue?
it's scar tissue everywhere. If you cut off that, it cannot make more scar tissue. It's just not liver function, so it doesn't regenerate anything. Healthy liver can do that, though.
Oh, healthy liver can regenerate it.
Yes.
Okay.
Super well. So you can actually, there are living liver donors. Like if you're alive and somebody needs part of the liver, you can give part of your liver to someone.
What?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that.
The liver produces blood clotting factors. One time we talked about bleeding disorders here, about the clotting factors that are needed. Well, the liver makes them. The liver produces other hormones Man, the liver's so flippin' busy. For example, insulin-like growth factor, which is very important during development.
Well, it also produces testosterone, right? My voice has been heavy. I've been heavy dosing it.
It's more progesterone, but it is another hormone, and angiotensinogen, which is used then for blood pressure control, which we know is happening at the kidneys, but they work together.
Cool.
So, last but not least, very, very briefly, we talk about liver diseases. Mainly, they are hepatitis disease. Hepatitis means the inflammation of the liver tissue.
Hepa being the
liver,
okay.
and itis meaning inflammation. It is, if somebody has hepatitis, the first thing that is tested is really if you have any of the hepatitis viruses, hepatitis A, hepatitis B, C, D, or E. They're the most common ones. You can also have it caused by too much alcohol use, drugs, medical drugs or illicit
street
drugs.
yeah.
And there is something called an autoimmune hepatitis, which when you make, you attack your own liver and give that. There's autoimmune disease for just about every organ that we have. So autoimmune hepatitis is also one of them.
Roughly how many of your patients have liver issues? 10, 20%?
Yeah, 20% maybe.
So it's one of the big things in our body. Well, now I know more about the liver. And all that fun stuff. All right. Well, thank you, Doctor, for that informative MD-10 there.
Sure thing.
For telling us. What is it going to be next week? We haven't decided. You haven't decided yet what it's going to be.
Well, I did some research on shoulders. Maybe we'll do that.
Oh, well, if you do shoulders, you got to go knees and hips. And
all right.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Let's begin this. We have our two guests been patiently waiting and listening informatively to your talk there, Doctor. But let me be candidly frank with all of my listeners. You are one day going to die and pass outside of this earthly realm of existence to wherever you may believe exists or does not exist in the next world. Chances are extremely high that when you do die, someone will take care of the matters of what you have left behind, amongst them your physical body. These stewards, whom you may not have ever known, will be responsible for tending to your vacated bodily shell, while others will be charged with announcing your death and arranging for various legal and social mechanisms to kick into place, announcing to a myriad of entities that you are indeed deceased, and perhaps play out your last wishes to those of us left living. The subject that I am speaking to you is primarily the funerary business. Think about this. The birth and baby business is booming.
Yeah.
Billions of dollars are spent each year on pre-birth reveal parties, baby showers, accoutrements that make child raising easy, diapers, clothes, baby carriages, car seats, photos, meals, toys, early birthdays, on and on and on. And these form a huge, expensive, time-consuming experience and one that plenty of businesses are founded upon in providing us, but at a cost. But if you look at the other side of this same reality and observation, let's follow a chronological line, say, one that leads away from birth to the end of life and the shutting down of all that we have invested in. For death is the culmination of every birth. Where are the parties? Where are the light and bubbling, effusive spirits? Sadly, they're mostly gone. Now, I just got to say that one day, all of us, positively, guaranteed, are going to pass.
Yes.
All right? I mean, we know that. We live in a society that often avoids talking about one of life's certainties, what we just talked about was death. And from the moment we're born with a gasp till the path that eventually leads to our last breath, death might seem to some of you as taboo, something that maybe is not openly discussed and forthrightly talked about. But why is this intensely profound transition so often shrouded and dismissed in our supposedly enlightened seaside society? Is not death an experience that we all inevitably face? If we're candid about our mortality, we will embrace the beauty and fragility, and preciousness of the life we have been given. On today's Doc and Jacques live radio program, we will pull back this veil of death and meet two pleasant, knowledgeable folks that deal with death on a daily basis. I assure you that they are just like any one of us that resides here in Brookings. So today we'll delve into the inevitable journey we all must take and examine the traditions of death in an industry that is there to serve us and our loved ones in our final hour. I wish to be clear that this is not a show about being glum, morose, or lugubrious. Rather, it is all about cultivating an honest appreciation for the amazing gift of life and the symbolic ritual of death. Lastly, death is the one certainty that unites all of humanity, affecting every single person on earth, and that includes you and I. And who better to plumb the depths of this most fascinating subject matter than two souls that work at Redwood Memorial Chapel and Crematory here in our lovely seaside village of Brookings, Oregon. So with that, drum roll here, I want to welcome Mary Fox and Kevin Brose. Hey, pleasure to meet both of you.
Welcome to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's begin with asking a simple question.
right.
Why don't you start it off, Doc?
Yes, Mary, where did you grow up?
Grew up in Northern California, primarily in the Redding area. Came here in 1970. Love it.
You came to Brookings itself.
Yes.
Wow.
And you have never left. You've stayed.
No. Well, we left for about 3 years once and came back and said, nope, Brookings is home.
Brookings is it. Huh?
Raised our kids here, so.
Nice. How about you, Kevin?
I grew up in Southern California. Most of my time was spent in a little town, Escondido. And, excuse me, I came up here in 1981. My grandparents lived up here. I'd come up every Thanksgiving and enjoy the area. And I took a year of college in Southern California, came up for a summer, and I never left. So I've been here ever since.
You still like it?
I love it.
Yeah, you too.
I have no intention of going anywhere.
What do you wish we had here in our lovely community that we don't? Oh, there it is.
Oh, no.
Uh-oh.
Absolutely
Yes, I'm
nothing I would
calling,
change.
so-
I get that people complain a lot about the lack of medical. Yes, I know it's difficult. It's hard to keep doctors here because their wives and families want all of the amenities of the big city, and we don't have that. But you know what? We have so much else to enjoy. We have the beautiful scenery that's here and the quiet hills and the mountains and the rivers, and I'm perfectly content with that.
Amen.
Right. Yeah. I have heard that before. The people that I have heard left did not leave for that reason. So, I mean, maybe that was in this, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Mary, what is your actual title and position at Redwood?
My title is administrative assistant or front office receptionist. I'm the gray-haired lady that meets you at the door and asks how I can help you, and I do paperwork and pay bills and write checks and make phone calls and all that sort of stuff. Flunky.
Okay. How about you, Kevin? What's your title? And
Title and
My title, I am the funeral director apprentice.
Okay.
So I do a little bit of everything right now.
And you're tutoring under Jake.
Jake Boulay.
Yeah. Jake, when we first walked into Redwood Memorial, again, it was an uplifting. It was well lit, nice. It was a good vibe to it. It has a good vibe to it altogether. Jake was really nice, and he told us about the both of you.
That's our goal, is to make things as pleasant as you can
in
the situations we come across.
Yeah, true.
He in the beginning, he said, yeah, we'll ask Mary to do that. She's good with
Mary
talking.
and Kevin, yeah.
Mary and Kevin, they're good with talking with people. And then we talked a little bit, and he said, I wish I wasn't. He's in South California or something. So
He's actually at one of our other facilities in Madras and taking the place of their director who's out of town.
yeah, so he had to leave, and he said,
First thing
dang,
he
I
said
wish.
was, I'm not the guy to talk on the radio. But after he talked for 10 minutes with us, he said, no, maybe I will find the time to come in. It was funny. Give me a short summary of the services you provide, Mary. What is the general stuff you're dealing with?
So basically, we're providing for the families at the end when they come in, someone's passed, and we're helping them get the death certificates done, getting the information we need to fill that out, and whatever it is that the family would like to have us do with their loved one, whether it's cremation or burial, to help them with those arrangements.
Yeah, we have actually heard that What is the percentage of cremation here in Brookings?
Closer to 95%.
95%.
Very few are burials. It's mostly the older, like 90-plus people that do the burials because that's the tradition from that era.
Yeah.
That is really wild because last week when I spoke with Joseph Sudersky of Weirs in Crescent City Funeral Home, he said he's up around the average in the United States at about 65%. So you're about 90%.
Yeah,
Amazing.
absolutely.
You know, when I lived in England, they have to. It's mandatory to have cremations. They don't even have body burials because there's no space.
There's no space.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, that was kind of scary. Now, do you have, Kevin, somewhat of a short synopsis of the mission statement or the...
Kind of a short explanation of it is we are here to provide guidance through this time, and we show a lot of sympathy and try to make things as relaxing to everybody as we can in this really stressful time for them.
Good.
How long has Redwood Memorial Chapel been in business?
It opened up in October of 2001. Janine Williams Barnard and her husband, Andrew Lundgreen, opened it up.
Now, who was the first
And my
customer?
dad was their first customer.
Your aunt was the
No, my
first.
dad. My
Oh, your
father.
dad. Oh, your dad was
Yeah.
when he.
He was their first customer.
Passed.
Yeah.
this pretty.
I'll be darned. What a trip! You got exposed to it.
Now, are you the only such business in town or in Curry County?
We're the only one in Curry County, yes.
Trip. What other businesses do you work closely with?
Oh, obviously, hospitals and funeral care facilities, hospice. We do work with law enforcement because we have to gather the reports, either for the doctor or for the medical examiner about what happened at the event.
No.
And so primarily it's with the medical field.
Now, who writes in Oregon? Who writes the death certificate?
A medical doctor, a nurse practitioner, a doctor of osteopathy, or a physician's assistant are all allowed in Oregon to sign death certificates.
Do they have to be the providers for those patients? Or?
Yes, they would be, unless it's a hospital case.
Yeah.
If they're under the care of a primary care provider and pass, then it's the primary care provider's responsibility to sign the death certificate and provide causes. If they're in a hospital, then it may be the hospitalist that signs the death certificate. Or if it's accident, homicide, suicide, unattended, where there's no primary care provider, then it becomes a medical examiner case.
Okay, so is there just one medical examiner here in the whole county?
There is one medical examiner for several counties in Southern Oregon and 2 counties in California.
That's the person that the body would go to under maybe
Suspicious circumstances.
Yeah, that's up in Curry. That's up in Gold Beach, I assume.
No, actually, the medical examiner's office is in Central Point.
No,
Wow.
Okay.
And so if we have a suspicious death, the body goes there for whatever autopsy he's going to do, and then they come back to us.
So who decides if it's a suspicious death?
A lot of times, the district attorney, if it's what we call a 911 call, where the sheriff or the police are there first, and they suspect something other than natural causes, then they will recommend an ME or a medical examiner to look at the body. Yeah.
Okay. Now, do you ever see people that you don't know who the primary care is? I mean,
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. And that's the case with many of our indigent folks around here that are homeless, unhoused. They have no care provider.
Yeah.
And in that case, it becomes, if we find them in the woods or on the street, they become a medical examiner case because they don't have a care provider.
Interesting. So when Joe passes at home, surrounded by his family, the family will then say, okay, Joe is expired. He's sat there for a couple hours, maybe, and then they're going to say, do I call 911, the sheriff, or can they call you? What do they do?
If the person is on hospice, then we will get a call from the hospice company.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But if it's what we call an unattended death where there's no medical unit around, then they call the sheriff's office or the police, depending on what jurisdiction they're in, and then we get a call from the dispatch, and we go and recover.
So you got to go recover. So you take a van, let's say, or a hearse, or usually a van?
We have a couple of vans that are suited to recover with a gurney and other pieces of equipment in there.
That's usually, people that have been wasting to disease, or they're just old, their time is up. It's just a common thing. You're just going to go pick up the body and
Correct.
put it up. How long, Mary, can a body in Oregon? I found out from Joseph in Crescent City that there's a long period of time you can keep the body. You don't need to call the funeral home right away or the coroner. It's different here in Oregon, right?
Oregon has a 24-hour rule in terms of refrigeration. The state asks us the body be refrigerated within 24 hours. So if the person passes at home and it's going to be a home burial and they've prearranged that with the county, the body still needs to be refrigerated, and so they're brought to us.
Okay. Got that one.
Are you guys active with the Chamber of Commerce or Rotary?
Not at this point in time, because our ownership is actually a corporation, a company that has 4 funeral homes, 3 in Oregon, 1 in California. And our corporate owner is not local. He is actually from Madras. So it would be up to us individually to get involved with the funeral or with the chamber or an organization like that.
We're connected.
Really
Yeah.
cool. Yeah,
Michelle Bupert.
And my organization up to this point has been Scouts. I spent a lot of years in Boy Scouts, so that's been my community service part.
That's cool. I know the Chamber of Commerce, we've had them on our show here.
Yeah.
And they're always looking.
They're good people.
I know that Joseph is active in the Crescent City Chamber. If I want to pose this to you, if you could no longer use the word funeral service in your description, what other words would you use to describe your line of work? Is it?
Other than a funeral service?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say something more like the last days recoveries.
No idea.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're looking for other terms, but
The last
yeah,
days.
the
Now,
last days recovery.
how often do you actually see or know about a person in the last days versus when do you get called for the first time?
Well, hospice will give us a heads up sometimes.
Right, if they're hospice.
Yeah,
How often
and-
are they in hospice?
We don't know. I mean, we get a call out of the blue and it's the sheriff's office and they say, oh, by the way, this person passed and we need to have you come and take them into your care. And that's the first we know a lot of times.
Can they call you at 3:30 in the morning?
Oh, sure.
Any hour of the day.
Any hour of the
So
day.
you got to get up and deal with
We're
it.
on the
They're-
road.
They have the cops have their hotline.
Yep, they
right?
do.
They have the bat phone. They could get to you. Why is a funeral home called a home?
They originally were a home sort of thing. It was the furniture company made the caskets, and frequently the furniture company people lived upstairs. Their facilities manufacture were downstairs, and so was the parlor, the living
The
room.
parlor, yeah.
And the living room
right.
was
Wow.
the parlor for the funeral home. There were also, in prior generations, all of that stuff was done by the family. The family prepared the body for burial. The family washed the body. The family dressed the person. The family made the casket
Oh,
and actually dug the grave back in the 1800s.
Oh,
And
interesting.
so everything was done at home.
I hear the guy upstairs, the chef, chopping chicken.
chicken.
We're right below Black Trumpet. That thumping you heard was him chopping the chicken. Listen, folks, it's amazingly already halfway through our show here on KCIW. You're tuned into KCIW LP 100.7 FM in Brookings, Oregon, and you are listening to Doc and Jacques. Regardless if you sing, you have a voice, and that's what community radio like KCIW does best. We're made up of good local folks just like you who care about our lovely community passionately. And if you have a penchant for community work, volunteering, and joining things, then consider the KCIW radio family. And by all means, get involved, serve, contribute, donate your time and money to an exemplary, local, nonprofit, non-commercial radio station. Find out more by going to kciw.org today. So we talked about why is it called a home?
Yeah. Now, what is the difference between a coroner versus medical examiner?
So a coroner is a publicly elected or appointed person whose duty it is to certify the cause of death. They do not necessarily have any medical training of any kind.
Okay, but so when somebody calls at 3:30 in the morning, then
The funeral home comes and brings the body into their care. But in California has a coroner system where they have an elected person or appointed person who, in cases that are not doctor signed, certifies the cause of death. They request medical records and they figure out what the cause of death is, or they have the medical examiner come and do an autopsy and he tells them what the cause of death is. But Oregon is different. Oregon does not have a coroner. We have physicians and PAs and nurses who sign, or the medical examiner who signs.
You know, in Louisiana, I don't think it was always the coroner who signed any death certificate. When I came to California, I was asked to, whoa.
Yeah. Like,
do what? Sign a death certificate.
Missouri, it was always the funeral homes are the coroners.
Yeah, and we are not.
Well, you'll see a big difference in the death certificates. In California, they actually have at the bottom a coroner's signature. And in Oregon, it's a medical examiner or medical person.
Medical director.
Medical director
Wow.
signature, yeah.
Now, what is embalming in the now time?
Yeah, and do you do embalming at the funeral home?
We do.
You'll have to, right?
It's the chemical induction to help the body survive a longer time without having to be cool, preserve the body. Yeah.
Now, this is, I'm guessing, only for open casket viewing?
Not necessarily. If there's going to be a person who's going to be delivered to another area, when the person is going to take more than a couple of weeks to be put in the ground, then an embalming is suggested, so the decaying process is slowed down.
Yeah. Wow, interesting. So what is a mortuary?
Technically, a mortuary is a place where the bodies are stored.
Okay.
We have a refrigeration unit, which is where we hold the bodies until they're either interred, buried, cremated, whatever.
So that's the mortuary part.
That's the mortuary part of the funeral home.
Okay, and about the crematory.
So the crematory is where we actually do the other disposition of the body that's not burial, and that is where heat and flame is used to reduce the body to ash or bone fragment.
Did you say heat?
Heat.
Flame?
Heat and flame.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And you have a crematory there?
We do.
Facility?
We have a crematory. Actually, we have two. We have a people crematory and a pet crematory.
Oh, I was just going to ask that.
Yes.
Yeah, so you have a pet crematory.
we
Now,
do.
what is the biggest?
We cremate pets.
What is the biggest pet that you can cremate?
That we can, a couple 100 pounds.
Yeah.
Dogs.
Well, we've done pigs.
Push the limits. Yeah.
We've done goats.
Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
pets. Oh, wow.
We don't do horses.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say horse.
We have that question.
We don't do
asked.
cows. We don't do horses.
cows.
Okay.
I know you maybe did Kermit after Miss Piggy got mad at him.
Do you work with the sheriff's department, and in what way?
We do work with the sheriff's department quite a bit. There, a lot of times, we're dispatched by them when there's an unattended death. They're the first ones called, and they determine either through an ambulance person or themselves that the person is deceased. Then they immediately call us, and we get over there and do the recovery.
What are some of the more unique funerals that Redwood Memorial has performed? But both of you could kind of chime in. Was any totally unusual? People have weird requests. They want to be buried in a burlap bag or something like that?
No. The up-and-coming thing is the green burial.
Oh, yeah. Tell us about that.
So in the green burial, there is no casket. there is a shroud, a biodegradable shroud that the body is wrapped in, and the body is placed into the soil and covered and decomposes on its own.
Where is it? In a cemetery?
And so there's actually one over in Ashland area where they do it. I don't know if our local one has a plot set aside for that.
There's no
yet or not.
tombstones, anything like that there, right?
No,
They're just,
it's just the body buried in the earth like they used to do it.
Now, we learned that if the caskets are caskets and they are not supposed to implode because of the soil kind of imploding over it too. So we would have that with the burlap or the green burials, right?
Nowadays, all caskets are put in the ground in a liner. It's either a concrete liner or a plastic liner.
Yeah.
And that prevents.
Right, but I mean the green burial.
The green burial, no, there's and
the body.
the bodies aren't that large. There will eventually be a dip where the body was, but the old cemeteries are all that way. The caskets, coffins, they all eventually decayed, decomposed, and you will find in the old cemeteries there's humps and hollows.
Yeah.
And a lot of the older ones are left that way. They're never filled in. The newer ones would fill it back in.
How deep does a hole have to be?
6 feet.
6 feet.
Yeah, we heard
But Joseph in California is 5.
5 feet.
Yeah.
And then they, what you referred to, Kevin, they had to put a plastic over it.
They put it in a liner, and it's
put it
either
in a liner.
concrete or a plastic liner, so it's all concealed in
5 feet.
the liners, protected by that.
5 feet deep.
6 feet here.
6 feet deep.
Or 6 feet in Oregon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what other different kind of burials can you tell us about?
Those are we've done in the casket, either wooden or metal casket, and then that's enclosed in the liner, or the green burial.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if you do cremations, can you give the ashes home? Can they be dispensed anywhere or spread?
Oregon is blessed that way. We don't have all of the paperwork that California does. In Oregon, you are allowed to scatter ashes in a stream or on the ocean or on the beach, in the hills.
Interesting.
They ask that you not make a big display about it so that you would not offend someone who might happen to see it. They also ask that you don't bury all of the ashes in one spot because now it's a grave. So they need to be scattered abroad, not all put into one place. If they're all put into one place, now it's considered a grave, and they want you to mark it, and they want you to register it, and it needs to be changed on deeds. So for a home burial where someone is buried on their home property, that's very doable. You just have to plan ahead with the county planning department, get the permits done and the surveys done, so that happens.
Do people still take the urns home?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I when we walked in the other day, we'd been there twice now, and again, it's light and airy, and it's a good vibe to the whole place. I want to remind our listeners, take a pen and paper, because in about 15 minutes or so, we're going to be giving you lots of phone numbers and contact information and things you might want to write down. But when we stopped in the other day, Mary, we're at the front desk there, kind, gentle, compassionate, and Kevin was in the back room meeting with a grieving family or the family. And when you opened the door and came out to make some copies, I kind of looked in, and you have casket.
We have urns in there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like she shows what they can get and how they get. What is one of the misconceptions, Kevin, when you start talking to people? What are some of the misconceptions that people have about the business?
One of the biggest ones is when they come in and I meet with them and we start talking, they're expecting everything to happen within a couple of days.
Yeah.
They don't realize that with all the paperwork, it's a longer process. I like to tell my families, by the time we get the death certificates and get the cremation done, it's probably about a 10-day process. And they're, wow, I figured it'd be faster than that. But it's not. We do have paperwork to do. We need the doctor's signature. And then the doctor's signature on the death certificate goes to the county, and then we have to wait for the county to get the death certificate taken care of. So it can be a little bit longer than most people would like it to be.
I do sign it within a day, I want to tell you.
You have to sign it. You have to sign it with.
Thank you.
They're always going back right on my desk. You have to sign it again.
So, yeah, I mean, we've talked about some of the novel ways that that people are buried and things like that. But are coffins generally expensive? What's the cost of what's the spectrum of costs?
To be honest, on a coffin, I've never ordered one. I don't know that we've ever had one come through since
What
I've
kind
been
of?
there. A coffin. The hexagon.
Oh, that's you're
okay.
talking about the hexagon and not the
There's a difference between a coffin and a casket. The casket
The
is
old pine box.
No, a coffin is six-sided,
coffin is
like
six-sided.
Dracula sleeps in, but a casket is four-sided, like rectangular.
And
Right.
that's the one
Right.
you were
You
asking
got me.
about.
Okay.
Oh, smart, Mary.
So coffins, we don't know because I've never had one that I know of come through, so I have no idea. Caskets start at about $650 and go to whatever you want to spend. I've actually seen a $10,000 one.
Wow. Who's your biggest competitor? I mean, they buy from me, but people I've heard a few years ago go to Costco.
Yeah.
Costco.
Yes.
So,
Oh, yeah.
Adam.
That happens. And people have been known to order their casket and have it sit in their garage until the time of need.
Oh my!
And then the family brings it over to us. So that's happened too.
Oh, you can. They can do that. You use.
Yeah.
I went all the way over to
Wow.
Medford to get a coffin at a casket in Medford, but I drove the Honda, so it was too small.
Yeah.
Just a bad joke.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay. So, what are the specific skills you have to even work in a funeral home? Either one. Well, you both do different jobs, so both
Yeah.
of you please.
But we still have basic as far as personality. You have
Yeah.
to be sympathetic. You have to show a lot of empathy. You have to be patient.
Yeah.
And that's in everything we do.
Yeah.
Mary, and I don't care what anybody says, she's the one running the joint,
Yeah. Right.
You have
to put it bluntly.
You have to know how to prioritize things. Some things you have to stop everything you're doing and do right now.
Yeah.
Some things can wait 10 minutes till you finish what you're working on. Some things can be done toward the end of the day. You just have to know what to prioritize. And the families are the priority, taking care of the folks that come in. They're our priority.
Yeah, and you have to have that compassion, empathy, as Kevin just said. You're dealing with them. What kind of people do not need your services?
Only if they're doing a home burial, and then if they've already arranged with the county and they have their plot map done and their permits all done, and they have a doctor who's ready to sign because they'll be given a death certificate to fill out. And if the doctor will sign it and they can bury him within 24 hours, then they don't need us.
So nobody comes by and checks if there's really 6 feet dug out.
I have no idea because I'm not on the planning
I know, in
department.
California.
Right, yeah. That's usually the cemetery employee's job to make sure.
But I mean, if you have a home burial.
Yeah.
Oh, a home burial.
No, it would be up to the county
would be up to the
planning
county,
department
yeah.
to do whatever they do with that.
Is there Potter's Field in Brookings?
Yeah, what is a Potter's Field, and is there one in Brookings?
Yes. Up at W.G. Ward Cemetery, we have a plot or two that are set aside for those people whose bodies are not claimed or those for whom we cannot find a family.
Yeah.
And every so often we take a group of them up and they are interred in that plot, and it actually has a pretty little marker on it. It says that it's those community members whose bodies were not claimed by family.
Is that cremation then?
Those will be cremated remains.
Interesting.
But they're all marked and identified so that if a family member ever showed up and went, hey, my dad's buried up there, we would like to have his
But
ashes back.
how is it identified if you don't know who that person is? Or do you know who the person
We know
is?
who the person is.
Yeah.
Oh, there's just
So
no
there
family.
is a name and an ID tag, a metal ID tag with the body, with the cremated remains. And that information is at the cemetery office. There is a cost to have the body disinterred, and there is a state permit that we have to get, but it's very doable
Disinterred, what does that mean?
to have it taken back out of the
Exhumed.
ground or out of the valve.
So how are those people buried in an urn or in
So
a?
they are in an urn. We have a plastic urn that they go in, and there is an ID tag inside that identifies who they are and labels on the outside. So
When their date of death was and when they
date of death.
were buried and whatnot.
Tags.
that-
And the tags are pretty important. Just a really quick story. About 6 months ago, we had a family that was cleaning brush around their yard and came across 2 urns just laying out on the ground.
Wow.
And they brought them down to us, and Mary was diligent and found the tags and actually found out who they were and found the family they belonged to.
And then got them interred over at Eagle Point National Cemetery.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which was
So did the family not know where they were buried, or did they not know they were deceased?
We don't know the story. The family who found them were just cleaning up blackberries, and there they were laying outside.
Wow. What's your favorite thing about this business? What is it?
What you like?
What do you really like about your job?
I like meeting with the people. I feel I have pretty good rapport with people.
You do.
I have a good personality for people. I know a lot of the people around here, especially up in Gold Beach, because I live up there.
Oh.
And it's really nice to have people come in and they see a friendly face that they recognize.
But what's it like also making friends with people that are grieving? I mean, it must be kind of tough because they're in a state of mind that's nobody can explain it.
And one thing about that is everybody grieves differently. So their personalities might be different, but it's something you have to go into the room, read it, and start out, like I say, showing empathy and sympathy and going from there. And it's hard sometimes, but
well, Mary, what do you think is the worst part of it? Because you like everything.
The worst part is the family fights.
Oh, my God.
When you get a group of people in the room and they are not in agreement with one another. And at one point, some years back, our director at that time actually had to ask the family to leave the room, take it outside, and when they could agree, come back in.
Wow. And is it usually over money? Is it usually?
It's usually over who wants them to be cremated and who wants them to be buried, or what container, or how many parts each, how many ways you're going to divide the cremated remains.
Yeah.
And those are the usual disagreements.
Oh my goodness. So is there, the last wills or anything? There is, the thing that we're dealing with, that's not how do you want to be buried or cremated. So where is that actually put down if one can decide or does want to decide, when we're still alive?
It's nice if it's in a will, but it's 30 days before somebody opens the will and looks.
Yeah, true.
So I don't remember now what the medical term is, but there's a document that you can sign that says, these are my wishes, and whether you want to be on life support or not. And
that's the advance directive.
That's the one, the advance directive. So it's good if it's written in there, or if someone simply writes a note and puts it where somebody can see it that says, when I die, I want to be cremated. Or give instructions. Tell your kids what you want. Yeah. Please tell your kids what you want, because it's hard for them if they come into us and they don't know. And then they're having to make the decision. And that's where a pre-need arrangement really comes into play. If a family wants a pre-need arrangement.
Okay. So you both would nod and say, absolutely. Visit you guys ahead of time.
Yes.
Think about it. It's not a morose.
Take care of it now.
It's not glum.
It does happen. Your kids aren't put in that position.
Yeah, and I can assure our listeners, Kevin and Mary are just like you and I. They're just, they have a job to fulfill, and they do it very, very well. So get out your pens and papers now. Let's put it down right this moment, and then we'll come back and do it at the very end. How do people reach out to Redwood Memorial?
By phone, 541-469-9112 is our main phone number. And we do have a website. It's www.redwoodmemorial.net.
One word,
Redwood Memorial, run together. There is a contact us button there, and you can send us an email through that. People often fill out the form with their family information and send it to us, and we put it in a file, and it's there in case they pass, and at least we know what they wanted. They don't always necessarily come and pay for it ahead of time, but if they submit it to us through the website, it goes in our pre-need file.
You have payment plans that they can...
What cost are we talking about?
So cremation starts at $2,005 plus the death certificates, the urn, and the state filing fee, which is $30 in Oregon. So you're looking at just under $2,100. They can pay it all at once. We do it through American Funeral and Cemetery Trust Services. They do have to meet with our director to sign the paperwork because neither of us can do that. That's reserved for the director. And it stays there. It's the master trust for Oregon, just like it is for California. And they hold the funds until the time of need. And
So it's the same. You put the money down and
it builds interest
later?
and yeah.
So a direct phone number again is 541-469-9112.
That's correct.
Okay. And where are the cemeteries? Okay, how much does the cemetery cost here in this area? Depending on what cemetery it is?
Yeah. It depends a lot on the plots. Anything from $275 for an infant plot up to $2,000 for
A full box.
a full with a view.
With a view.
So it depends on where the plot is in the cemetery and which cemetery.
And that's a one-time cost.
It's the payment for the plot, and it involves also the maintenance of the plot because they're cemetery districts.
So for how long does the maintenance, does that include?
That's in perpetuity because like we have South Coast Cemetery District here in the Brookings area, and that's W.J. Ward Memorial Cemetery. And that money that is...
So it's a one-time payment,
One-time
and then
payment.
you get. So what is the maintenance? I mean, people still go and put flowers on, and is that what
People
does
put flowers on.
what does maintenance mean?
So that's where they mow the grass around the plots.
Okay.
But the $2,000 one, let's say, that
Yeah.
covers all of
that
that?
covers all of that.
So you'll never have to be getting a bill from
No.
a lawn
No.
mowing company saying, hey,
You're not paying
No.
that. No.
all right. So one time seems like a deal in a way. I mean,
Yeah.
again, with a view.
Yeah.
Yes,
With a view.
tremendous view.
That's
yes.
important.
Yeah.
That's
Nice.
fascinating.
No.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to backpedal a little bit, Kevin. You're in training, funeral
Yes.
director,
I'm the apprentice. Yeah.
apprentice.
Yes.
Is that how one becomes?
There's several ways. That's one way.
Yeah.
Schools. There's a lot of schools out there that
Teach funeral directorship, or what's that called?
Mortuary
yeah,
science?
mortician.
Mortuary science.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, you see it.
Mortician. And there's schools all over the country for that.
Uh-huh.
There are specific schools all around that. That's basically what they're going after is a funeral director. And so I believe when I looked into it, it was a 2-year course.
Okay.
And
And how long is your apprenticeship?
my apprenticeship is between 2 and 3 years.
Okay. And then when you're
Learning the
done,
ropes.
will you go somewhere else, or are there two funeral directors then?
Well, personally, I'm not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
I love it here too much, and I've already been asked if I would be willing to move, and no. But yeah, once I get my funeral director's license, I could go somewhere else.
Yeah. And so it's okay to have two funeral
It
directors.
is okay
in
to
the
have
same-
several. Yeah.
So it's all evolving as we speak. It's going more and more towards cremation
Yes.
versus whole body. And in the Midwest, I know it's about half and half.
Yeah.
Still. Are there many women? Is it Mary, do you notice more women coming into the field? It seems like funerary business is always the man's world.
There are some women. We actually have one of our facilities has a lady who's the funeral director, and that's up at Reedsport at Dunes Memorial. And so, yeah, there are women who get into it. It just depends on the person's personality.
Kevin, what does a tombstone cost?
What does a tombstone cost?
Yeah.
They go anywhere from about $300 up to Mary. Go ahead and take over
Oh.
that one.
He's on
So-
call.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's
so
on
he
call.
has to take some calls. I'm sorry about
So they start about $1,300, go up again to whatever you want to spend. It depends on
Yeah.
what kind of granite or marble and how big and how fancy. And so
Do you handle also things like floral arrangements if they wish, or do you wish, do you step
Well,
Wreaths and
right now locally it's hard to do floral arrangements because last I knew we didn't have a florist
Well,
in
they
town.
do. Abigail does a little
Abigail.
bit,
Oh yeah, we've got Abigail, and so she will do. For that. I used to work at a florist.
Yeah.
There you go. I'm a florist.
He was a singing florist.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Well, so how many? Where do you get the tombstones from? Are they from the local?
we have a company out of Hillsboro and a company out of Tacoma primarily that we order from. I know there are others around, but those are the ones that are owners. One in Vallejo, California.
Shipping costs are high.
Yeah.
Tombstone's way just a little
There's
bit.
a local one. I thought
That's
I think
it. Okay.
there's one in Crescent City, but I haven't.
maybe that's
I don't think I've ever made contact with him.
Right? Yes, there is. On the way of South Beach, as you're driving down
Yeah.
South Beach, just before you turn left to go up to the casino. Not that I know that. I don't gamble, but we do go to entertainment.
All right.
So last but not least, did you both kind of ever think you would, what got you into it? I mean, was it something that's you've thought about as a kid or interested in?
I was in a couple of different fields for multiple years, and the last one I was managing a business and putting in long hours, and it was just wearing me down. So I basically took some time off, and I said, I want to do something different. I could go back to these other things. And I happened to be in the county. My wife works there. And she said, Redwood is looking for someone to work under Jake. And I said, funeral home.
Interesting.
I could do that.
Yeah, you got a good
So-
personality.
Found your niche.
How about you, Mary?
I enjoy it. Yeah.
Any great story about thinking about that when you were a kid?
I did not. I was a school teacher, and then I was a florist for 20 years. And I was working at the florist, and the lady who owned the business, who started it, came over and asked my boss. She said, one of our ladies wants to retire, and I know that the florist industry is slowing down. Could we share Mary? And my boss said, of course. And then she said, maybe I should ask Mary first.
Okay, that is about time, folks. Let's do an update of this every 6 months or so. Come in again. It's fascinating. It's something you are stewards of something we will all use, a commonality of all human beings as we all die. Yes. You can call Redwood Memorial directly at 541-469-9112, and you'll most probably end up talking with Mary. And if you needed their help, then you'll go on and talk with Kevin or Jake, and then you can visit them online with us at redwoodmemorial.net. There it is, folks. It's simple.
Yes, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having us.
Quick hour it was. I hope our listeners have found it informative and interesting.
Yes.
Doctor, let's quickly switch over to the last part of our things, which is fun time. We have about 2 minutes. So
yes, we do. Okay.
Let's run through some of your great
All right.
quotes.
You don't have to be happy every second to be happy overall.
You don't have to be happy every second. Okay, I like that one. How about create healthy habits, not restrictions?
That's a good one, too. I really like this one. Don't ask why healthy food is so expensive. Ask why junk food is so cheap.
Wow. That is good. The only bad exercise of getting healthy is the one that didn't happen.
Yeah.
So do your exercises. Take care of your body, for it's the only place you have to live.
Hey, this is a good joke that you never told.
Okay. Oh, yes. When you die, what body part dies last? Do either of my guests know the answer to that one? When you die, what body part dies last?
The brain.
Nope, the pupils, because they dilate.
Oh, they know.
Okay. I think Ray is chuckling.
I've got to add to my report.
All right. There you go. They dilate. Okay. I had some more.
Yeah.
We got enough for a couple more jokes here, and I'm going to say this one is pretty good. My daughter Fallon asked me if she should have a baby after 40 recently.
Yeah,
Fallon, well, I said, no, honey, 40 babies is enough. And what did the baby corn say to mother corn?
What?
Where's popcorn? That's for Ray is not looking at me heavily.
That one.
What's a group of chunky newborns called?
What?
Heavy infantry. Infant. Oh, okay, that one's
cute.
Okay, for Janice, though, what do you call a cow that had a baby?
What?
Decaffeinated.
Okay. So, dang, I'm so sorry we have to cut your jokes off, but we're reached that magical ending time for this week's live radio variety show. You have been listening to Doc and Jacques on KCIW LP 100.7 FM in beautiful Brookings, Oregon. We thank our fantastic guests, Mary and Kevin, and the knowledge they have shared with us. We hope that you've enjoyed the show as much as we have, right, Jackie?
Yes, that's correct. Doc, a special thanks to Tom and Ray and the engineering booth doing their wizardry. And lastly, if you know of an interesting character, let us know. Peace and love to all of you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.